UFC Fight Night Vieira versus Tate's full card prediction. 12 fights on the entire fight card. The main event, former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Misha Tate gonna be fighting Qileng Vieira, coming off a loss to Yanez. 5 rounds in that women's bantamweight division. We got Michael Chiesa and then Sean Brady at welterweight, Kyung Ho Kong and Rani in bantamweight, Taila Santos, Joanne Calderwood in flyweight, Davey Grant, Adrian Yanez in a bantamweight, Sabatini, Tucker Lutz in featherweight, Natan, Levy, Rafa, García in a lightweight, Loma, Lookboonmee, Lupita, Godinez in strawweight. We have Ziam and Terrance McKinney in lightweight, Aori, Qileng versus Cody, Durden in flyweight, Soriano, Shayilan, Nuerdanbieke in the featherweight division, and Hughes, Luana, Pinheiro. If you look at all these fights right here, I don't see any fights at middleweight or above. The biggest fighters on the card are in the welterweight division in the co-main event. We have no middleweights, no light heavyweights, and no heavyweights. So this card is going to have a lot of smaller opponents on here, but it should definitely be a very, very solid card. If you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe, and let's get into the first fight right here in the women's strawweight division. Luana, Pinheiro and Hughes in the women's strawweight division. A short notice fight in the first fight on UFC Fight Night Vieira versus Tate. The original fight was Luana, Pinheiro, Jessica Penne. In my opinion, I thought that was going to be a very, very 50-50 fight. I'm not too sure if they still have the betting odds for that one, but now the new betting odds for Luana, Pinheiro and then Hughes, absolutely insane, with Luana, Pinheiro being a minus 350 favorite, starting at minus 185, just doubling as a humongous favorite over Hughes. I believe that she's gonna win the fight. I just don't know if she should be that big of a favorite. That's just absolutely insane. This is gonna be a little bit smaller, a little bit less lengthier. Be a little, I would say a little bit less volume in terms of the striking in the later rounds. The earlier rounds, I believe Luana Pinheiro is faster, she's more powerful, and she'll be able to land the better shots and land more volume because of Hughes' striking defense earlier on in the fight. But later on as the fight does go, Luana Pinheiro should start to slow down a little bit in the cardio, and that's where Hughes might have a little bit of the advantage. But early on in the fight, Luana Pinheiro's kicking game, the leg kicks, the body kicks, the really good shots right down the middle, should be able to hit Hughes fairly easily because of how fast and how efficient Luana Pinheiro is able to land those shots. Luana is also going to be having the wrestling and grappling advantage. She's got a couple of submission wins before joining the UFC over there in Brave CF. First round submission, first round submission, first round submission, first round submission, just a lot of first round submission wins right there, and she was doing pretty good in the wrestling and grappling on random Marcos in the last fight. But this one right here, I really see it as how long will that gas tank of Luana Pinheiro gas, or last, I shall say. But Luana in the early rounds, she should do way better on the feet. Really good kickboxing, a lot better boxing. She's going to lay more volume, lay more speed, more power, have the better wrestling, have the better grappling. I believe that should allow her to at least win the first 2 rounds. I'm just a little bit scared when it hits the third and final round, because we don't really see Luana Pinheiro go the full distance. Literally every single one of these fights right here is a first round finish. Got 1 loss right there by a decision. So the only time she's really gone to a decision, she's ended up losing the fight. She has 1 decision win right there, but I just don't know how she's going to look later on as the fight goes. But early on in the fight, I think Luana Pinheiro should do very, very good in terms of the striking at range, mixing in the takedowns, and overall, I do believe Luana Pinheiro should definitely win the fight by a decision right there, but I do not think that Luana Pinheiro should be a minus 350 favorite. That is absolutely crazy, but Luana Pinheiro, 29-28 decision. Decent fight in the women's strawweight division. Shayilan Nuerdanbieke versus Soriano. Let me say that name one more time. Shayilan Nuerdanbieke. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but this one is in the featherweight division. 19-9 and then a 14-7, or sorry, 19-7 and then a 14-7. Not really the best records from both of the guys right there, but they do fight quite a lot. lot. I mean, I'm not sure how to say the name, but Shayilan has fought quite a bunch in 2020. One fight against Alexei Oleinik right there. Not the Alexei Oleinik that's in the heavyweight division, of course, but literally in just 2020 fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights, one of which against Zhu Rong and once against Joshua Kulibao. So he's a very active fighter in this featherweight division. Sean Soriano, also a decently active fighter himself, fighting about 3 times in the last year right there, beating Jose Mauricio, Noah De La Hat, then almost beating Christos Giagos. Looked very, very solid in that fight on the feet, was almost about to knock out Christos Giagos, then he got caught in that guillotine choke submission. But this fight right here, with Shayilan and then Sean Soriano, I do believe that Sean Soriano should definitely win the fight. Shayilan, his main way of winning is to go out there and wrestle and grapple Sean Soriano, because if you look at the losses, rear naked, Darce choke submission loss, rear naked, ground and pound Darce choke, and then another rear naked. All of those losses are on the ground by a submission or by a ground and pound TKO. So if Shayilan is going to win the fight, it's going to have to be in the grappling, wrestling, and ground and pound type of facet of the game. And if Sean Soriano is going to win, it's going to be a heavy boxing game plan, keeping the fight on the feet, using that height advantage, using that reach advantage, the speed advantage, the volume advantage, the power advantage, literally every single advantage in the striking, he's going to use that. Also being the bigger fighter, being more of a natural lightweight fighter in my opinion, moving down to the featherweight division, he'll be bigger than Shayilan, which I think will allow him to defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and I just don't see this fight being one where Shayilan can control Sean Soriano on the ground. The guys that have been able to control Sean Soriano on the ground have been very, very solid guys. I mean, Christos Giagos, not the best guy right there, but still UFC caliber guy. Charles Rosa, very solid. Chaskeli, Tatsuya Kagawari, however you say that name right there. All of these guys are very, very solid wrestlers and grapplers. Nowhere near is Shayilan. I don't think Shayilan is anywhere near the grappling and wrestling pedigree of those type of guys. So I think this one is going to stay on the feet for 3 straight rounds, and Sean Soriano will outbox and outkickbox for 3 straight rounds and win every single one of them. 30-27 decision win for Sean Soriano right there. The betting odds are very, very interesting, having Sean Soriano as a -250, -275, and at some points a -235. That's kind of around where I would think it should be, because Shayilan is going to be smaller, does not have anywhere near the better striking, so should be a pretty easy win in my opinion for Sean Soriano right there. Decision win, 30-27 for Sean Soriano. Really good fight in the featherweight division. Qileng and Cody Durden in the flyweight division. I've been looking up how to say this man's name. Qileng is how I kind of figured out what it's supposed to be pronounced by, but if I'm getting that wrong, kind of correct me in the comment section below. But this one is going to be in the flyweight division. Qileng coming off a banger of a fight against Jeff Molina on a pay-per-view a few months ago at UFC 261. Ended up losing the fight, but he put up a very, very good fight. Before that, getting a lot of finishes in the first round, putting on amazing, amazing fights. 6 knockout wins, 1 submission, and 11 decisions. Out of the losses, 3 of those losses are submission losses. The main way you're going to beat a guy like Qileng is really to out-volume him on the feet, or to out-wrestle and out-grapple to a decision and maybe latch in the submission. That is where a guy like Cody Durden does come in, because early on in the fight, when he has that cardio, when he goes out there and just starts to out-wrestle and grapple you, he does absolutely amazing. He easily took down Jimmy Flick. Then, of course, Jimmy Flick was able to transition that to a triangle, but Jimmy Flick's an absolute beast in the wrestling and grappling. Destroyed Chris Gutierrez in the first round with that wrestling and grappling. Got a 10-8 round, then lost the next 2 rounds because of his cardio. But if that cardio does not gas out in the second and third round, he's able to wrestle Qileng in the first and out-wrestle him in the second round. I believe that Cody Durden, that's really all he needs to do to win the fight. Of course, Qileng is going to be the better striker, but Cody Durden, I believe, can keep it decently even on the feet. Of course, he's not going to have the advantage in the striking, but he can keep it even enough to where the judges will see him laying in those takedowns, laying in some ground and pound, going for some submission attempts as well, and see that being able to override the amount of striking damage that Qileng is able to land on the feet. So I believe Cody Durden out-wrestles and out-grapples Qileng in the first round, and out-grapples and out-wrestles him in the second round. then you'll start to gas a little bit towards that third round, but at that point, it's already 2-1, and Cody Durden does win the fight. So my prediction right here is going to be Cody Durden by a 29-28 decision. If Qileng is going to win, he's going to need to be able to defend the takedown, and I'm really not too sure if he's going to be able to, because if Jimmy Flick wasn't able to, if Chris Gutierrez wasn't able to, I don't think Qileng will be able to. So my prediction right there, 29-28 decision win from Cody Durden. Really good fight in the flyweight division. Terrance McKinney and fares Ziam in the lightweight division. Before we get on the video, let's clap for this fight. This is going to be an absolute banger of a fight in the lightweight division. Terrance McKinney on an absolute finish streak inside the UFC and in the LFA, knocking out Matt Frevola in 7 seconds of the very first round. Michael Israeli-Ortiz in the main event in 1 minute and 12 seconds. Tonino Calvino in the co-main event in 17 seconds. Dedrick Saunders in 16 seconds. Losing to Derek Minner in 57 seconds. Sean Woodson, that one went a little bit longer. Before that, 43 seconds. 2 minutes 57, another 7-second knockout, a first round finish, first round finish. We can go on and on all of these finishes right there, but every single win and every single loss has ended in the first, second, or third round by submission or by knockout. No matter the win, no matter the loss. So this fight, I can guarantee you, there's literally no chance, in my opinion, this one is gonna go into a decision. I mean, Ziam, with the chin that he does have, he doesn't have the worst chin, but the grappling and wrestling really isn't the best. He's gonna have, I would say, better submission skills than Terrance McKinney. He's gonna have the better kickboxing than Terrance McKinney, but Terrance McKinney is gonna have the better boxing than Ziam, and he's going to have the better wrestling than Ziam. So it's really going to come down to, can Terrance McKinney on the feet keep the distance and stay away from the kicks of Ziam while landing the boxing combinations, and in the wrestling and grappling, can Terrance McKinney land the takedowns without Ziam going for any of those submissions or anything like that. So it's a very even fight, as you see right there, -110 and -110. The betting odds as of right now, slightly leaning towards Terrance McKinney. Very, very slightly. I mean, literally every single betting on site out here has it as a 50-50 fight, but the mean average barely going at Terrance McKinney to be the favorite right here, and I'm also going to go Terrance McKinney. I believe in the striking, he's going to really put on the pressure on Ziam, stay on the outside, and then come right in with some really big shots, hurt Ziam, take him down with his really, really solid wrestling, and ground pound the heck out of Ziam to a TKO in the very first round. I believe Terrance McKinney is the real deal. Amazing boxing, really good power in his hands, with the wrestling as well. I believe he'll be able to just come forward, land those boxing combinations, hurt him, and finish him off with some ground and pound. So my prediction right here in the lightweight division is going to be Terrance McKinney by knockout in the very first round. But Ziam also has those kicks, and if he's able to keep range and Terrance McKinney walks right into one of those head kicks, that could be a way for Ziam to win the fight, as I believe he has never mind, he doesn't have any head kick knockouts on his record, but from the highlights I have seen, he's got really good body kicks and really, really good high kicks. But I believe Terrance McKinney should be able to land the really good boxing combinations and knock him out in the very first round. A really good fight in the lightweight division. Loma Lookboonmee and Lupita Godinez in the women's strawweight division. Another short notice fight. We already had one other with Luana Pinheiro and then Sam Hughes. Now we have another short notice fight with Loma Lookboonmee and Lupita Godinez. Originally it was supposed to be Loma and then Shayilan buys, but that fight got canceled due to COVID-19. Now we're going to have Loma Lookboonmee, Lupita Godinez. This fight is going to be a very, very interesting one. The height, the reach, very, very even. The size is definitely going to go Lupita Godinez. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of the fights from Loma Lookboonmee. I really don't think she cuts any weight. I see her on the scales. She looks exactly the same as she does on Fight Night. She is a very, very small fighter for this women's strawweight division, coming off of 2 wins over Jun Frey by unanimous decision and Sam Hughes by a unanimous decision. Before that, beating some other girls over there in Invicta FC and one other inside the UFC, only losing to a ranked opponent against Angela Lee right there. But overall, these tabloid predictions are very, very 50-50, as are the betting betting odds. Right now, minus 150 for the favorite. Very interesting in Lupita Godinez. But I'm going to go the underdog right here. I'm going to go Loma Lookboonmee. I don't think that Lupita Godinez should be the favorite right here. Yeah, she might be bigger, but she's going to be taking the fight on short notice. Loma throws more volume. I believe she has better striking defense. She's got better power in her kicks. Really good body case, really good leg case. She's very, very solid in the clinch with knees and elbows. Lupita Godinez tends to have a lot of time in the clinch, and if it's going to be there, Loma's really going to land a lot of good shots there. The main factor for Lupita Godinez to win the fight is, of course, going to be the wrestling game, taking down Loma Lookboonmee for 3 straight rounds to a decision. But Loma's takedown defense is very, very solid. She's way better in the clinch, way better at range in terms of kicks, in terms of volume, in terms of speed. I believe in the feet and in the clinch, she does have the advantage. I believe she defends the takedowns from Lupita Godinez, which is the main way she's going to win. And I believe Loma Lookboonmee should definitely win the fight by a unanimous decision right there. There's literally no way, in my opinion, that Loma's going to knock out Lupita Godinez. She's just a very, very tough opponent. Never been knocked out in a professional or amateur MMA career. Yeah, I think the fight does definitely go either way. If Lupita wins, it's going to go either way. If Loma wins, it's going to go either way. But I think Loma keeps the fight on the feet, defends the takedowns, and uses that amazing Muay Thai from Tiger Muay Thai and Lookboonmee Muay Thai gym to definitely win the fight by decision right there. Really good fight in the women's strawweight division. Rafa García and Natan Levy in the lightweight division. The betting odds for the fight very, very close. Minus 111, minus 110, and then minus 110. There's some odds out there that do have Rafa García as a decent underdog. That's right around where I would think the odds should be, as Natan Levy as a very, very slight favorite. In the prime of his MMA career, going to be a little bit taller, a lot lengthier by 4 inches right there. Neither guy really has the best boxing or kickboxing. If I had to give an advantage, maybe I give Rafa García because he just comes forward and continuously just keeps on throwing. But Natan, with that height advantage and with that reach advantage, I believe could use that to have Rafa García come forward with his boxing and kickboxing, come forward. That's where Natan Levy is going to level change, go down for the takedown, and out-wrestle and out-grapple Rafa García. So in the striking is going to be very, very even, but I do see Rafa García having that more pressure boxing type of style. I believe that's going to walk him right into a takedown from Natan Levy. Natan Levy is going to land that takedown, do what he always does, and control the fight on the ground with that wrestling and grappling, coming off a 3rd round arm triangle choke submission, a decision win, and then a lot of other decision and submission wins. I believe he goes out there and out-wrestles Rafa García, out-grapples Rafa García for 3 straight rounds. But Rafa, never been finished, only 2 losses in the UFC, and in general, have come by a decision. If Nasada wasn't able to finish, if Chris Greshmacher wasn't able to finish, I really don't think that Natan Levy is going to be able to finish this fight. So definitely going to go all the way. Natan Levy keeping the fight very even on the feet, just kind of point fighting the striking, jab and 1-2 in at range, level changing for the takedown, and controlling the fight for 3 straight rounds. Unanimous decision win for Natan Levy right there. Really good fight in the lightweight division. Tucker Lutz and Pat Sabatini in the featherweight division. This one is going to be very, very interesting because if you look at the betting odds right now, they are definitely going to be going. Let's see if I can find it. For Pat Sabatini, minus 147, minus 170 on some of these betting odds sites right there. Having Tucker Lutz as a plus 140 underdog on some of the odds out there as well. But in my opinion, I think it should be a minus 110, a minus 110. This one should 100% be a way, way closer fight. Pat Sabatini has the grappling, the submission advantage, of course. Tucker Lutz has the wrestling advantage, and Tucker Lutz has the boxing advantage. The kicking game is going to be very, very even as well. But Tucker Lutz, being the longer fighter, in my opinion, by 2 inches right there in reach, he's going to be a little bit younger. That's not going to play too big of a factor. But in the wrestling and grappling, I believe Tucker Lutz, being the stronger fighter, being the better wrestler, will be able to dictate if the fight is going to be a grappling, wrestling heavy fight, or if it's going to be a striking heavy fight. And do you really want to go out there and wrestle and grapple with a guy like Pat Sabatini, who just went out there and submitted Jamal Emmers in the very first round? There's no chance that you're gonna want to grapple and wrestle with this guy. There's just literally no chance you would want to take the chance of getting submitted by Pat Sabatini. So this fight will stay on the feet. Tucker Lutz will defend the takedowns of Pat Sabatini, and this fight is really gonna come down to who has the better striking. Because again, the wrestling is not gonna play a factor for either guy. I don't think Tucker Lutz takes down Pat Sabatini. I don't think Pat Sabatini takes down Tucker Lutz. This fight will stay on the feet, and Tucker Lutz having a 2-inch reach advantage, having way more volume, being really solid in the clinch as well, maybe even be able to land a takedown of his own towards the end of the round if the boxing and the striking is going to be very even. He can mix in a takedown right at the end of every single round to secure it on the judges' scorecards. And that is why I'm going to go Tucker Lutz. I'm going to go the underdog right here to win the fight by a decision. I believe he wins the fight in the striking, but even if he is not winning the fight on the feet, he can mix in a takedown at the end of the round, land a little bit of ground-and-pound shots, and win the rounds that way. So I'm going to go the underdog, Tucker Lutz, by a 29-28 decision. I'll go past Sabatini for one of the rounds. Maybe he slightly outstrikes him and wins one of the rounds. But overall, I believe Tucker Lutz has the better striking, and it can mix in the wrestling every now and then. So I'm going to go Tucker Lutz by a decision right there. Really good fight in the featherweight division. Adrian Yanez and Davey Grant in the bantamweight division. We got Mini Masvidal right here fighting Davey Grant. So it's going to be a very solid fight. The height, the reach, really not going to play a factor. The age might play a little bit of a factor, as Davey Grant is about 36 years old, whereas Adrian Yanez is only 27, almost 28 years old in about 6 days. So I really do think that Adrian Yanez is going to have the age advantage, he's going to have the speed advantage, he's going to have the boxing advantage. The kicking game, really non-existent from Adrian Yanez. Throws a few calf kicks, few body kicks every now and then, but it's really the boxing game from Adrian Yanez that does get him the win. We call him Mini Masvidal for a reason, because he kind of looks like Masvidal a little bit, and he has amazing boxing. When he does use those kicks, is against very low-level fighters like Victor Rodriguez, who is currently cut from the UFC. But yeah, other than that, lot of knockout wins. First knockout on Brady Huang on Dana White's Contender Series. First knockout on Victor Rodriguez. Third round knockout on Gustavo Lopez. And a second round knockout on Randy Costa. Only losing to UFC level fighters, in my opinion, to Levi Mo. So I believe should be inside the UFC. He's beating some very solid guys inside of Fury FC. Domingo Pilarte, another guy that he was in the UFC, fought Felipe Colares, and then Brian Kelleher, and then Miles Johns, another guy who is inside of the UFC. So all of the guys that he is losing to are UFC caliber, in my opinion. Now he's going to fight Davey Grant, who has 11 wins and 5 losses, only losing to Manny Bermudez, Marlon Vera, Damian Stasiak, and then Chris Holdsworth, all UFC caliber guys, and then one guy way back in 2009, but it's really going to come down to who has the better striking, because neither guy really goes for any takedowns. Neither guy mixes in the wrestling or the grappling or anything like that. So Adrian Yanez should definitely go out there, keep the fight on the feet, outbox Davey Grant. I don't think he'll finish Davey Grant, because Davey Grant did not get knocked out by Marlon Chito Vera, and I believe Marlon Chito Vera is a slightly better striker than Adrian Yanez at this point in his career. So I don't think there's going to be a finish. I believe Adrian Yanez outboxes Davey Grant for 3 straight rounds and wins every single one of them. Adrian Yanez, a Mini Masvidal by unanimous decision. Really good fight in the bantamweight division. Joanne Calderwood and Taila Santos in the women's flyweight division. This is going to be a pretty simple prediction, in my opinion, because Joanne Calderwood, the main bad thing in her arsenal in her UFC career has been known to be the wrestling and grappling. You look at the last fight with Lauren Murphy. I personally do think that Joanne Calderwood did enough to win the fight. She landed a lot bigger shots in terms of the striking, but of course, Lauren Murphy mixed in, I believe, 1 or 2 takedowns here and there. And that's how Lauren Murphy was able to win the fight. If Lauren Murphy's able to land those takedowns, Taila Santos 100% should be able to land the takedowns. Jennifer Maia went out there and submitted Joanne Calderwood. Jessica Andrade submitted Joanne Calderwood. Marina Moreau submitted her. Rose Namajunas submitted her. So the main bad thing of Joanne Calderwood's game is going to be that grappling. Literally half or even more than half of her losses are coming by submission. Fighting a girl like Taila Santos, who in my opinion is going to be a little bit bigger of an opponent right here, be a little bit longer in terms of the striking, probably going to have a little bit more volume on the feet in terms of she's just going to be able to use the leverage on those takedowns to land the shots on the feet. But overall, I'm still going to give a slight advantage to Joanne Calderwood on the feet. She's going to have a little bit more power, a little bit more volume, but of course, the main bad thing of Joanne Calderwood's game is going to be that wrestling and grappling. And after watching Taila Santos' last 3 fights with Molly McCann, Jillian Robertson, and then Roxanne Modafferi, every single one of them was a wrestling and grappling domination, and I don't think we're going to see anything differently on this time around. So I think Taila Santos should go out there, out-wrestle, out-grapple JoJo, and win the fight by a 30-27 unanimous decision. Really good fight in the women's flyweight division. Rani Yaya and Kyung Ho Kang in the bantamweight division. Rani Yaya going to be a little bit older right there by 3 years, almost 3 years, at 36, almost 37 years old. Going to be a little bit smaller, a heck of a lot less in terms of reach right there as well. It is another very, very 50-50 fight. If you look at the betting odds as of right now, -110, -105. So Rani Yaya being a very, very slight favorite. Not that big of a favorite, but very, very slightly edging out as a favorite. The tabloid predictions also having Yaya as a favorite. As we know, Rani Yaya being a very, very good BJJ practitioner, the 85th best grappler of all time in MMA, regardless of division. If you look right here, arm triangle on Ray Rodriguez, heel hook submission on Lou Saunders, submission win on Russell Dwan, Kimura on Henry Briones, arm triangle show Kimura submission win. So many submission wins from this man, 21 submissions, 0 knockouts, and then 6 decisions. Absolutely insane. But this fight right here is really going to come down to who has the better striking, because Kyung Ho Kang also has very, very good wrestling and grappling of his own. Showed it in his last couple of fights against Brandon Davis and Pinglian Liu. Also in the fight with Teruto Ishihara, getting a rear naked choke submission. And he submitted Guido Gennady right there as well. So he's got very, very good grappling and wrestling as well, with 11 of his wins by submission, 2 knockout wins, and then 4 decision wins are right there. So the grappling and wrestling of Kyung Ho Kang is also going to be very, very good. Of course, not nearly as good as Rani Yaya, but it's still going to be very, very good. And I believe that Kyung Ho Kang should be able to defend most, if not all, of the takedowns from Rani Yaya. Keep the fight on the feet, where he's going to be 3 inches taller, have a 5-inch reach advantage, be more powerful, have more volume, have more speed, have pretty much everything on the advantage in the striking. But again, it literally takes one time where the fight hits the mat, and Rani Yaya can latch in a heel hook, can latch in a guillotine, arm triangle, rear naked, whatever the case may be. But overall, I believe Kyung Ho Kang will defend the takedown, keep the fight on the feet, use that height, use that reach, keep the fight at range, defend those takedowns, and win the fight by decision right there. Really good fight in the bantamweight division. Michael Chiesa and Sean Brady in the welterweight division. Very, very interesting betting odds right there. -150 for Sean Brady, and then +130 for Michael Chiesa. And if you look at Michael Chiesa's last fight against Vicente Luque, a top 5 welterweight fighter in the world, you look right there, the number 4 welterweight fighter in the world, Michael Chiesa was the favorite on that fight, -115 and then -105. He was the favorite over Vicente Luque. Now he's the underdog at -150 for Sean Brady, and then +120 or something like that for Michael Chiesa. So that's a very interesting shift in the odds from the Vicente Luque fight, where he was the favorite, to go into Sean Brady being a pretty sizable underdog right there. But there is a lot of things backing up that the reason why Sean Brady should be this big of a favorite. 14 wins, 0 losses, a lot of finishes, 4 submission wins, 3 knockout wins, and 7 decision wins, and 0 losses. That's the main thing you really got to to look at is 0 losses on that record. First on Aka win, first on guillotine, second round rear naked. A lot of wins in CFFC and the LFA. Joined the UFC, had a really good striking show against Kurt McGee. Showed some very, very solid boxing. And won that fight by decision. Beat Ismail Nardiev, submitted Christian Aguilera fairly easily, and submitted Jake Matthews fairly easily. But this fight right here is really going to come down to who has the better striking, and it's very, very tough to see who's going to have the better striking, because Michael Chiesa is going to be 3 inches taller. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. He's going to have, that's pretty much it. He's going to have the height, he's going to have the reach, he's going to have the power. I don't think so. I believe that Sean Brady is going to be the more powerful striker. In terms of volume, really do not know, because Michael and Sean Brady haven't really been in a striking fight ever in their career, so we don't know how the volumes are really going to happen in the fight. We don't know what the speed is really going to be like, because neither guy's really put on the striking to really land the shots, or really using the strikes to set up the takedown. So we don't know how the striking is really going to play out right here, but I do believe that Michael Chiesa and Sean Brady, the wrestling and the grappling, is 50-50. I really don't give too much of an advantage to either guy, if I'm going to be quite honest with you, but I believe Sean Brady is going to be, he's going to be younger, he's going to be around 29 years old. I believe he's stronger than Michael Chiesa, is going to have the power advantage in the striking as well. So I believe this one is going to be mainly Sean Brady coming forward, just heavy pressure on the feet, landing some really, really big shots with the boxing, mixing in the takedown, not really trying to go for a submission on Michael Chiesa, but just kind of controlling Michael Chiesa on the ground, maybe looking for an arm triangle or a rear naked or something like that. I don't think he's going to land it, but it's a very even fight. Michael Chiesa could go out there like he did against Vicente Luque, get takedown on Sean Brady and control him for 3 straight rounds to a decision. Sean Brady can do the exact same thing to Michael Chiesa and control Michael Chiesa for 3 straight rounds, but I believe Sean Brady's stronger. I believe he's going to be better in the clinch, he's going to be more powerful in the striking, and I believe he could mix in the takedowns. I don't see Michael Chiesa taking down Sean Brady, but I can see a possibility of Sean Brady landing 1 or 2 takedowns on Michael Chiesa. So it's a very, very even fight. I think it should be a -110, a -110. A veteran of the game, 17-5, and then a newcomer, a 14-0. It can go either way. I would not be surprised if Chiesa goes out there and submits Sean Brady, or just controls him for 3 straight rounds, just like he did against Neil Magny. Very, very 50-50 fight, but I'm going to go Sean Brady in a very, very close, 29-28 split decision. Could go either way, but I'm going to go Sean Brady right there. Really good fight in the welterweight division. Ketlen Vieira and Miesha Tate in the bantamweight division. If you look at the UFC rankings as of right now in the women's bantamweight division, right now Miesha Tate's at number 8, Ketlen Vieira is at number 7. The winner of this fight, I assume, is probably going to get a very, very big step up into the top 5 of the bantamweight division. Maybe Jermaine Durden, maybe Irene Aldana, Juliana Pena, one of those girls, but this is a very, very solid fight. Miesha Tate coming back after a very, very long 5-year layoff, coming back and TKO and Marion Renaud in the final round. Now she's going to be fighting Ketlen Vieira, who does not really have the most exciting fights, in my opinion. Has decent striking, kind of using her height and reach to outpoint strike in the striking, mixing some takedowns, using the grappling a little bit here and there, but I've not been too impressed when Ketlen Vieira has been on bottom. Watching the last fight on Yana Kunitskaya, where Yana, the main reason she ended up winning that fight on the judges' scorecards was because Yana Kunitskaya landed 1 or 2 takedowns in the fight, had a little bit of control time. And if Yana Kunitskaya, a girl that is nowhere near the wrestling and grappling pedigree of Miesha Tate, if Yana Kunitskaya is able to use that wrestling and grappling to win the fight by decision on those judges' scorecards on Ketlen Vieira in a 3-round fight, just imagine what Miesha Tate can do in a 5-round main event. Again, this is a 5-round fight. Miesha Tate has been in many, many 5-round fights, and Miesha Tate going out there, having the wrestling, having that grappling advantage, could literally just tire out Ketlen Vieira in that wrestling and grappling, and throughout the 5 rounds, Ketlen Vieira is going to get really, really sloppy, and she's going to walk into a lot of takedowns of Miesha Tate. Miesha, in my opinion, is really going to out-wrestle, out-grapple Ketlen Vieira for 5 straight rounds, and maybe one of the rounds could go Ketlen Vieira in terms of the striking, but overall, I'm definitely going to go Miesha Tate. I know Miesha Tate is not going to have the striking advantage over Ketlen Vieira, but I can't see Vieira being able to defend the takedowns. Eventually, she will get taken down, just like the last fight with Yanez. Miesha Tate should out-wrestle, out-grapple for at least 3, possibly 4, maybe even 5 of the rounds, and just destroy Vieira on the ground and win the fight by unanimous decision. Really good fight in the women's bantamweight division. Yeah, guys, that is my full card prediction for UFC Fight Night Vieira versus Tate. I got Miesha Tate by unanimous decision, 49-46. Sean Brady by a split decision, 29-28, 29-28, and 28-29. Kyung Kong by a decision, 29-28. Taila Santos by a decision, 30-27. Adrian Yanez by a decision, 30-27. Tucker Lutz decision, 29-28. Natan Levy decision, 29-28. Maybe a 30-27. Loma Lookboonmee decision, 29-28. Terrance McKinney knockout in the very first round. Cody Durden, 29-28. Soriano, 29-28. And Luana Pinheiro, 29-28. I already know we're going to see a heck of a lot more finishes than I've already suggested. The main front runners for who I think, because a lot of these fights right here, the only one fight I'm confident we'll see a finish in is going to be Terrance McKinney and Ziam. But some notable mentions that I think have a very high possibility of a finish are going to be the Sean Soriano fight, are going to be the Natan Levy fight, the Adrian Yanez fight, the Michael Chiesa fight, and then possibly that main event as well. So I would not be surprised if we see a lot more finishes than I suggested in the video, but overall, those are my predictions. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and everything like that. If you want to become a member of the channel, check the comment section below. Like the video, everything like that, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.